see the screen? Am I audible to you? Yes, then only you can understand whatever I am saying, right? That's why you are raising your hand. So, thank you so much. Now, the thing is, so we'll continue with the once again a very happy and good morning to all of you. Thank you so much for adjusting to the new system of live classes, and hope everyone is understanding everything. And if there is any difficulty, please don't hesitate to come back to us and ask any doubt. So here, as we are discussing about electrostatics, let's have a quick revision of what we learned in last class. What we learned in last class. So the very first thing, how many processes are there in charging a body? The very first thing. How many processes, how many phenomena were there? So how many phenomena we have seen actually? The first one is charging by friction. The second one charging by conduction. The third one charging by induction. Now, when you consider each one separately, the very first one is, what is the phenomena of charging by friction? So friction means what we said, when you take two substances and rub each other, when you take two substances and rub each other, then depending on their properties, chemical or mechanical properties, chemical properties and their structure and their nature, depending on that, one substance may lose electron, one substance may gain electron. So the one which loses, that becomes positively charged. The one which gains electron, that becomes negatively charged. But we can't say exactly which one will become positive, which one will become negative, because we don't know the nature of all the substances. And few examples we have taken, like rubbing glass rod with silk cloth and all. And you collect as many examples as possible and you make it like notes. You search anyway. And that is called charging by friction. Now, the next thing is charging by conduction. Charging by conduction means, see, try to understand here clearly that one uncharged body you take and one charged body you take. Then you touch them together. So you take one uncharged body and you take one charged body and kept them in contact. Then what happens is the excess charge, either positive or negative, that will redistribute on the surface of both the bodies because of mutual repulsion between the similar or like charges. So that earlier the charge was there on one body, now when you kept in contact, that charge will redistribute between both of them, so that when you separate them, then both acquire charge. If initial charge is positive, then both have positive charge. If initial charge is negative, both will get negative charge. So conduction means by touching, you need to charge a body. with the help of another charged body. So that is what we call it as conduction. Based on conduction, numerical also will come, that we will see today. Now the next thing is charging by induction. Induction means with the help of earthing of your body. So when you connect the body to the earth, then what happens is either electrons may move from the body to earth or electrons may move from earth to body. If the body is positively charged, then electrons move from earth to body to neutralize it. If the body is negatively charged, the excess of electrons will move from the body to earth. Now, when you take one positively or negatively charged body near the uncharged body, don't touch it, just keep it near. Then, because of the charge on that, the uncharged body gets separated positive and negative charges, as we have discussed last class. So that is what charging a body without touching the another charged body, but with the help of earth, that is earthing the body. Now afterwards we have seen what is Coulomb's law. Coulomb's law nothing but the electrostatic force magnitude which depends on product of the two charges and inversely proportional to square of the distance, and where the proportionality constant is k, which is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, which is equal to 9 into 10 power 9 Newton meter square per Coulomb square, but where epsilon naught is permittivity of free space. See, I gave you one formula that for any medium, the epsilon will become epsilon naught into epsilon r. So epsilon naught into epsilon r. So here epsilon is actually permittivity of the medium, any medium, whether it is vacuum or air or any medium. Now, what is permittivity means? It is a property of the medium which decides the force between two charges. What force? Electrostatic force. Now here, for vacuum and air medium, epsilon r is called the relative permittivity, that value is 1. So that epsilon will become epsilon naught. So permittivity of free space or vacuum, when you consider, this value will become 1. So that epsilon equal to epsilon naught. That's why we will consider only epsilon naught. But when you consider any medium, the epsilon r value is always greater than 1. So the epsilon r value is greater than 1 always for any medium. That's why epsilon value is also more, and that is called permittivity of the medium. So for every medium there is one fixed value called epsilon naught, permittivity of free space. There is one relative permittivity which is called epsilon r. But for air medium or for vacuum, epsilon r value is 1. For every other medium other than vacuum and air, epsilon r must be greater than 1, which is called dielectric constant or relative permittivity. Now what is permittivity of free space? Already we have discussed just now. Now what are the properties of electric force? We have studied. It is like a central force, conservative force. It obeys Newton's third law. It obeys inverse square law. Inverse square law means what? It is inversely proportional to square of the distance. So that is what all the properties of electrostatic force. And what is meant by earthing of a body? Already we discussed when we discussed about conduction. So when you connect the body to the earth, that is called earthing of a body. And what is the consequence? We have seen already. Now today we will first study about comparison between gravitation and electrostatic force. So today's first topic is what is the comparison between gravitation and electrostatic force? See here, nothing, the first point if you consider, this is the first point, electrostatic force between two charges can be attractive or repulsive, whereas gravitational force between two bodies is always attractive. So always it is attractive. But in case of electrostatics, the force can be attractive or repulsive. So that is the one difference between electrostatic force and gravitational force. And when you consider the next one, electrostatic force between two charged particles is much stronger than gravitational force. See, when you consider two protons, there is some mass, so there must be some gravitational attraction, and there are some charges, there is some charge on each proton, so there must be some electrostatic repulsion. But when you compare the electrostatic force between two protons and the gravitational attraction force between two protons, who is stronger, who is dominating? The electrostatic force, that will dominate. So when you keep two protons at particular separation, they will not attract even though there is gravitational attraction. They repulse each other because the repulsive electrostatic force dominating the attractive gravitational force. That is the meaning. Next, electric force depends on the nature of medium between the charges, while gravitational force does not. So electric force depends on nature of medium. As I said, every medium has one constant called epsilon. So which is called permittivity of medium. So based on this, it depends. So electric force depends on the nature, nothing but one property called permittivity. But gravitational force does not. You take any two bodies, that only depends on one universal gravitational constant, that is capital G. That is 6.67 into 10 power minus 11 Newton meter square per kg square. So that is the differences or similarities or comparison between gravitation and electrostatic force between two particles. And one more thing also you can say here, the mass is the one property responsible for gravitational force, and charge is the another property which is responsible for electrostatic force. That also you can take it. Now let's take one question here. See, two protons are placed at some separation in vacuum. Find the ratio of electric and gravitational force. So electric force means F equal to Q1 Q2 by R square. So this is the one where 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught means K value, and that is given by 9 into 10 power 9. And when you take gravitational force between the two masses, whether two protons or electrons, that is G m1 m2 by R square. Now if you substitute, see here in place of charge, E into E, because charge of proton, and mass of proton m into m. What is the mass of proton? Mass of proton is 1.6 into approximately 10 power minus 27 kg. And what is the charge of electron? That is 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb. And the distance, how much they have given in the question? Oh, they have not mentioned because they are asking ratio. So when you compare the ratio, then you have to divide them. So when you divide both of them, see they are asking the ratio. That's why here we have taken what? Ratio of electrostatic force to gravitational force. So electrostatic force, see here small mistake, this should be E square. So E square by R square, here M square. So what will cancel here ma? Only R square in the denominator will get cancelled. So remaining is this one. Now if you take, this is 9 into 10 power 9, and this is already I have given the value, and this is G, and this is mass 1.67 into 10 power minus 27. But you take approximately 1.6 so that you can calculate, nothing will happen. And if you calculate, just do the calculation. See, it is of the order how much it came? See, 10 power 36. So who is stronger? The electrostatic force. The electrostatic force is 10 power 36 times that of gravitational force. Incomparable. So the value is very huge difference is there. See, 10 power 2 only means 100. 10 power 3 means 1000. 10 power 5 means 1 lakh. 1 lakh times. But here 10 power 36. So imagine. And that imagination I am leaving to you only. So that much greater value. So that is the comparison between electrostatic force and gravitational. Here why I have given this question, because I said electrostatic force is greater. So that's why I proved it. And that's why I have given this example, so that numerically or mathematically you can understand why or which one is greater, whether electrostatic force or gravitational force. Now one more thing, see, vector form of Coulomb's law. What is vector form of Coulomb's law? I will tell you. See here, consider two charges. So one charge is Q1, another charge is Q2. So there is one charge Q1, there is another charge Q2. Now there is a force on Q1 due to Q2. So that is F12. So let's take, this is F12. Now there is a force on 2 due to 1. So that is F21. Now if you see, as we discussed yesterday, F12 and F21 both are opposite to each other. Now if you consider position of Q2 with respect to Q1, or position of 1 with respect to 2. So if you take position of Q1 with respect to Q2 means now this is origin, so the direction will become this one. So this is the direction of F12. So this is the position of 1 with respect to 2. So you better change this one here equation like this. See, this one you take R1, 2 better, so that you will not get any confusion. Position of 1 with respect to 2. Now if you find unit vector in that direction, so this is the magnitude of the force and it is in the direction of this unit vector. Just like a vector is along x-axis means, suppose 6 Newton is one force acting along x-axis, then how do you represent in vector form? I cap. Why? Because I cap is the unit vector along x-axis. Similar way, here we are doing the same thing. Now we found F12 direction and we took one unit vector along the same direction, so R12. So same way here also I am just correcting. See, F21. So here also you take R21. So R21 now is a unit vector. What is this unit vector? Unit vector means which in the direction. What direction? Position of 2 with respect to 1. Position of 2 now. Position of 2 with respect to 1 means like this. So this is the position of 2 with respect to 1. That is the vector. Now if you divide with its magnitude, then you will get what? Unit vector. So that unit vector we are representing as cap, because I cap, j cap are unit vector along xyz. Similar way here R12 cap and R21 cap are the unit vectors along F12 and F21. So please just try to correct these two things. Now, because one more thing also I'll try to tell you, for 2 marks and 3 marks they used to ask this thing in the board examination usually. What is the vector form? See, whatever as it is they have written, that also you can take. Because they mentioned, see, suppose F12 is force on Q1 due to Q2 and R21 is unit vector points from Q2 to Q1. So both are in same direction. Then also no confusion, but you may get confusion like F21 here and R12 here. That's why I changed it. So please just try to understand. No sir, we will understand as it is, means it's your wish, no problem. Then the next thing is, see, the vector form of Coulomb's law is only for purely for what we call it as board examination. Now the next thing what will come is effect of medium on electric force. As I said, see, the electrostatic force between two charges in any medium is 1 by 4 pi epsilon Q1 Q2 by R square. This is the force in medium. Now force in vacuum, what it will become? See, in place of epsilon, what we have to substitute actually? Epsilon equal to epsilon naught into epsilon naught. But in case of vacuum or air, epsilon r is 1. So epsilon will become how much? Epsilon naught. So the force will become 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by R square. So this is the force in vacuum. Now if you compare the force in, like here they mentioned, F naught is the force in vacuum and F is the force in medium. So you just try to divide both of them. So this is they have taken as F naught and this one they have taken as F. So this one they have taken it as F. Now if you divide both of them, see what you will get is epsilon r equal to F naught by F, or F equal to F naught by epsilon r or epsilon naught F naught by K. So that means force in medium equal to force in vacuum by some constant, and this constant is always greater than 1 for every medium, epsilon r or K always greater than 1, so that F must be less than F naught. So when you take two charges in a medium, then the force between them, what happens? Decreases. So that is what you need to understand here. So the force between two charges is maximum when you place them in vacuum or air medium. That is the one thing you please try to remember. If there is any doubt after the class, please message me. I'll try to clarify you also. Now let's take few numericals. First one, when distance between two charges changed. So sometimes they will ask the question like this. See, there is a set of charges Q1, Q2 and the distance between the two charges is R1 and the corresponding force is F1. Now same two charges, they are separated at another distance R2. Now the new force is F2. Then what should be done? See, F equal to, here actually 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by R square. So here force is inversely proportional to R square. Why I am taking inversely proportional to R square? Because here Q1 Q2 same, 4 pi epsilon naught same, only we are changing the distance. So now the final force by initial force, if you consider like F2 by F1 equal to R1 by R2 whole square. So this is the ratio of forces before and after or after and before. So here in the question, if you consider the force between the two charges situated in air is F, the force between the same charges if the distance between them is reduced to half. Then R1 is R and R2 is R by 2 whole square. So that what it will become? R get cancelled, 2 will go up 4. So F2 will become 4 times. But here this is not the question, they also given one more thing. See, in this question only they have changed the medium also. See, if you change the medium, see here I will explain you. Suppose if you change the distance, then you will take the relation like F is inversely proportional to R square. If you change the medium, then it is like F is inversely proportional to epsilon or epsilon. Just now here both are changing means F is proportional to 1 by epsilon and R square. Now F2 by F1 will become R1 by R2 whole square into epsilon 1 by epsilon 2 inversely proportional. Now R1 is R and R2 is half of the initial distance R by 2. So R by 2 whole square times. Now epsilon 1. Initial medium is what? Air medium. So epsilon will become epsilon naught into epsilon R is how much? 1. Now epsilon 2 is what? Epsilon naught into epsilon R. What is epsilon R for that medium they have given in the question? 4. So cancel. So 2 will go up. 2 square means 4 into 1 by 4. So 4 cancel. So F2 by F1 is 1. That means F2 equal to how much? F1. So here in one question we got multiple type of concepts. If the medium changed, then what is the new force? If distance changed, what is the new force? If distance as well as medium change, what is the new force? So that is what the question, and here we calculated. So what is the final answer? The new force is also F. There is no change in the force because they changed the distance, they changed the medium. They reduced the distance, which increases the force. They introduce the medium, which decreases the force. So the amount increase due to decrease in distance and the amount in decrease due to introduction of dielectric, both are same. That's why both get cancelled. So final force and initial force both are same. So one question they can ask only alone when distance changed, what is the new force? Another question they can ask only when the medium changed, what is the new force? Another question what they can ask, like here given question, medium, distance both they will change. So please try to understand the difference. So in one question I have shown you 3 different type of questions which they can ask based on the Coulomb's law. Now question 2. Based on conduction. Conduction means what? Sometime they will mention. First simple type of question. If question is based on touching two similar charged bodies having charges Q1, Q2, then new charges on them will become Q1, Q2. You just touch two charged bodies and then separate them. Then what happens? The charges will be divided again among them and new charges will appear. But here we are telling two similar bodies. So as they are similar, the charges must be divided equally. That's why here the first thing is this one. You need to remember this. This one. See here. See. So this is the first thing you need to understand. So when small Q1, Q2 charges were there on both of them initially, now you touch them, then the total charge will become Q1 plus Q2 and that will be divided between them. And as they are similar size, they divided equally. So each charge will become Q1 plus Q2 by 2. If they are not similar, what happens? That we study in further classes because that is little bit different topic and it depends on different quantity. So here the first thing what you have to understand is when two identical spheres, like I have given one question, two identical spheres having charges 10 and minus 90 attract each other with a force F. So what is the force between them will become? What is the force formula? Initial force F equal to K into Q1 is 10 into 10 power minus 6. Q2 is 90 into 10 power minus 6. Don't substitute minus sign, please. It's a vector. For finding magnitude of vector, we never substitute the negative value. Always substitute the charge positive only. Remember it. Remember it. I am specifying. I am specifying and stressing. And divided by r square. Now if they are kept in contact and then separated by the same distance. Now the new distance is same. But they touched each other so that what is the new charges on them will become as we discussed just before. See, it will become equal on both of them, which is half of the total. Half of the total means 10 minus 90 by 2. Because charge is additive. You have to add just like numbers. Plus means plus, minus means minus. So that it will become minus 80 by 2. So it will become minus 40 microcoulomb. See, earlier the charges on both the bodies are 10 microcoulomb and 90 microcoulomb, and both are opposite sign, so they are attracting. Now when you touch them, the total charge became minus 80 and that is divided between them equally. Now each charge will become minus 40 minus 40. Now both are similar like charges. Now they will repulse each other. Now what you have to do is F dash. F dash means K into Q1 is 40 microcoulomb. Q2 is also 40 microcoulomb by same distance they kept again. See, if they are kept at same distance they are telling. Now you have to take the ratio where k will get cancelled, r square will get cancelled, 10 power minus 6 will get cancelled. Then you will get the final answer. So just take the division, compare and find the answer. So this is how you can solve the questions based on comparison. Comparison based questions will come everywhere in every chapter, not just in electrostatics. In every chapter they can ask question like this, comparison. Before changes like after changes. Now principle of superposition. The next thing is principle of superposition. See, today we will just take introduction and we'll try to solve just one question. Then in next class we will try to solve more questions based on this. Like, what is principle of superposition? The principle of superposition states that, see, here is the statement that the combined effect of force system acting on a particle or a rigid body is sum of effect of individual forces. In a simple language I will tell you, see here. Suppose here one charge Q1 is there and here another charge Q2 is there. Here Q is there. First suppose only Q1 is there and capital Q is there. Then there is a force on capital Q due to Q1. Now if you keep Q2, then one more force it will experience. Let's take that is F2. If you keep Q3 and there is one more force due to Q3 and that is, let's take F3. Now you take another one, let's take Q4. Now this is F4. So if multiple charges are there, then multiple forces will act. So that only called force due to system of charges. So here let's take, suppose this is one charge. Now in surrounding so many charges are there. So when you are finding the force on any one charge, excluding that, you have to look at how many more charges are there. Like here they have given 1, 2, 3, 4, so on, n charges. Now each charge will apply one force. But what is the resultant force means you should not take simply F1 plus F2 plus F3 because those are vectors. You need to apply vector resultant formula. What is the vector resultant formula? The resultant of two vectors r square equal to a square plus b square plus 2ab cos theta, where theta is the angle between two vectors a bar and b bar, which you have learned in basic mathematics, which you have learned in first PUC. And my suggestion, please once revise everything about vectors. Now onwards we are going to use resolution of vector, resultant of vector, like addition of vector. So please try to revise everything once. Then only you can solve the little bit difficult level of questions in electrostatics, which we will discuss in the next class. And I'll send you the link in the group like previous recorded video based on vectors. Please try to revise them so that you will get better idea. So here the conclusion is, when you take the system of charges, two or more than two charges, then the force on any other charge due to this system of charges is vector sum of all the individual forces. See, this is vector sum. So don't think that they are not represented vectors. So here F bar, F bar, F bar, F bar. Now to understand this, let us take one question. One simple question I will tell you. Suppose here I am taking you, take one triangle. So there is one triangle. And let's take Q1 or Q and Q minus Q. Three charges are there. Now they are asking, suppose what is the resultant force on this charge, the Q which is on top. Now when the question is about what is the resultant force on any charge when they give more than two charges, usually they will give 3, 4. Very rare they will give 5 or 6. Either they will give triangle shape or rectangle or square, mostly. Very rare they may give hexagon or pentagon. Very rare. That also we'll see in the further classes. Don't worry. Now today let's take three particle system. Now they are asking the resultant force on small q placed at this corner. Then what you have to do is, you have to understand here that excluding these, how many more charges are there? 1 small q plus q, another one minus small q. 2 more charges are there. And according to Coulomb's law, between two charges there must be one interaction force, either repulsive or attraction. And if two charges, when you consider repulsion, means force will be like this. As it is central force, it always acts along the line joining them, but outward. If you consider these are the two charges, unlike charges, then force must be towards each other. So they are attracting. Like that, when you consider first, suppose plus q and plus q. Now what kind of force will be there? Repulsive. So the direction will become like this. So this is the force on small q due to small q. Now the distance, let's take r, as it is equilateral triangle r, r, r. Now what is the F value? K, Q, Q by r square. K, Q, Q by r square. So that will become K, Q square by r square. Okay, very good, fine. Now one force we found it. But excluding the one which they are asking, if you look at, there are two charges. Then there must be two forces. If three charges are there, then there must be three forces. If there are four charges excluding the given one, then 4 forces. But here only 2 charges, plus Q and minus Q. So this minus Q also will exert some force on plus Q. Now if you take it as both are opposite sign, the charge is opposite to each other. Sorry, the force is attractive, so towards each other like this. So always remember, the force due to a charge means maybe away or towards. But this is wrong here because it is attractive. Attractive means towards. Now this force, let's take F2. Now what is F2 value? This is F1. Now what is F2? F2 is also same, K into the small q into small q. Why I am not taking minus q? Again I am specifying, I am stressing. Don't take minus sign when you are calculating force because it is a vector. Negative sign changes the direction, not the magnitude. Divided by distance is r square. So this force also same kq square by r square. Yes or no? Of course you can't answer me. So F1 equal to now F2. Anyway, now what is the angle between them? As it is equilateral, this is 60. So this is 180 means this is 60 means this will become 120 degrees. Now two vectors are at an angle 120 degrees, then what is the resultant? You take r square value. So r square equal to A is also F1 plus F2 plus 2 F1 F2 cos theta. But here F1 F2 both are same. Let's take F1 F2 as, let's take F. Then you substitute in the, then r square equal to A. What it will become? This is f square plus f square. So what it will become? 2f square plus, see, f into f, 2f square will become, because f1 f2 both are f, cos theta, where cos theta is how much? 120. So let's substitute 120. Cos 120 is how much? Cos 120 is minus 1 by 2. So 2 cancel. So 2f square minus of plus minus, so f square. So 2f square minus f square is f square. So the resultant r value is f. So this way you can understand how the resultant force can be found using the vectors. So just one example I have given. So in the coming class we'll try to see more questions, but if you want to understand those questions, you must revise vectors part, and after completion of your classes today, in the evening after your examination, I'll send you the links regarding the vectors, addition and resultant. So please try to go through them, then you can understand. Like here, one thing I am again specifying, don't take, when you are calculating electric force, negative sign, and take the proper sign convention depending on repulsion and attraction. Then the force on any charge means you have to look at other number of charges. Here 2 more charges are there, so 2 more forces will act. Then you have to take the resultant. So that is what this question. So here one example I have given based on the same concept. 3 charges placed at the vertices of an equilateral triangle of side 1.0 meter. Find the net electric force acting on charge Q1. So please try to solve this question and try to get the answer, and if there is any doubt, ask me. I'll send you the solution also. Right? Now, what we study in next class, more applications of Coulomb's law. As I said, few more questions we will solve based on this. Multiple charges. How to find the resultant force, that is the main thing we will study, and we will also study one more thing, that null point and equilibrium of an electrostatic system. What is the meaning of system, electric system is in equilibrium, and what is the meaning of null point and how to find it. So those things we will try to discuss it. So thank you so much to all of you. Hope everyone understood. If there is any doubt regarding anything, so please feel free to ask me. We will continue in the coming class. So thank you so much.